We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180 on 1230 KGEO, 1410 KERI, now on 1000 KKIM in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and across this big, beautiful nation on knookmedia.com. Our guests in studio from the city of Tehachapi talking about the plight of small towns, Ed Grimes, Greg Garrett, and Susan Wiggins. So, Greg, we were talking about you're not getting consistent money from the state, and you said also from the feds? What money were you getting from the feds that you're not getting?
Well, in Transportation Development Act money that's through the federal government, then is funneled through the state government, and then finally down to us. That money, by the time it gets to us, it's pennies on the dollar. That's for sure. And the money you spend on paperwork. I mean, you could, if you got rid of the paper, you could nearly pave the streets in gold. My goodness.
Sure.
All the tax money that's being collected.
That's the problem with every industry now.
It is.
And business.
I mean, we could have a segment completely on what it takes to satisfy the Caltrans requirements.
Yeah.
We had one time just last year. There were 6 months where the invoices were going back and forth because they were off 1 penny, and by the time it was fully satisfied, Caltrans went with the original invoice that the city had submitted. For goodness sakes.
Yeah.
It took thousands of dollars and countless hours to process one single invoice.
It's crazy.
Small businesses are dying with paperwork.
Right.
Our last guest last week was running for Secretary of State. Is going to try to make some changes on that.
Hopefully, yeah, because, would you believe California is the only state left that has a paper system for documents for new businesses, not computerized? I mean, it's insane. You process it, it gets lost, you can't find it. Well,
bureaucracy is an odd thing because it's almost a special interest because if you have something going on, you need a rule, you have something, you need a rule, and then, we create our own bureaucracy. People that work for government don't necessarily walk through the front door looking to be a bureaucrat. They have to participate in that forum, if you will. But it's based upon all of these special interests that have just bogged the system down.
What about grant money? You've done pretty well with grant money.
We do really well with grant money, as a matter of fact. We established, several years ago, a policy, if you will, unwritten policy, where we would design and engineer projects so that if money came along, we could immediately jump in there, seize the cash, and move forward and deliver, right? When you get a grant, the person giving you the grant wants you to spend the money, of course, produce. But if you have to spend your time and money on environmental designing and engineering, that's a year or two out. So you need to spend money quickly. And that's what you want to do. If you're going to collect it, spend it. Don't sit on it, right? What good does it do in the bank?
Sure, exactly. Susan, you and Ed are blessed. I mean, we're blessed as a city having Greg in that position. He's done a fantastic job. So from your perspective, where do you see the cities having to go because of the state and the federal government?
Well, I worked for 20 years with the Mojave Unified School District, and I did grant writing. And it was very frustrating to me even then because all the money would go to San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles, and San Diego. And we kind of see that now even with some kinds of city grants. But I have to give kudos constantly to our staff and our city manager because they have things ready. And I know what it's like to write a grant. And I know that you have to have certain talents and work well. And these guys have got it down to a science. And when I hear they apply for something, I'm usually like, oh, good, we're going to get it. And I'm really amazed when we don't.
Sure. Now, there's a lot of small cities that aren't as successful as you guys are.
Right.
And is it just a matter of not being on top of it, or?
Well, I like to use the example, and I won't mention the city, but there was a city here in Kern County that got a grant. And it was for over $500,000, but they had to spend it during a certain period of time. Well, they didn't have anything ready, so the grant went back. Well, guess who got it? Tehachapi. and the reason why we got it was because we were shovel ready. And I always like to say in the talks that I give that we like to spend other cities' money in Tehachapi.
Right.
And that's exactly what we do.
Right. Okay. Now we're having a conversation with 3 members of the city of Tehachapi talking about the plight of small businesses. Greg, you look like you were about to
Well, I was going to say, a strong city is backed by a strong community. You have to trust your government. You have to have a solid council. You have to understand, you don't want people just to come and go.
Sure.
The people that work for the city of Tehachapi in City Hall, they're professionals. They could go work in the private world real easy and make lots of money. but they have a somewhat of a calling. And you have to have that entire community behind you. You cannot be herky-jerky in what you do.
Sure.
Council member turnovers, council meeting that go to, midnight, those sorts of things. It's not productive.
Mm-hmm.
You have a CEO, you have a corporate. It's a municipal corporation. You have to allow the staff a lot of flexibility to go and do the good things. You have to create a plan and go follow that plan. And I see so many cities, small and large, that just they bicker and they fight and they get nothing done and they look silly. And investors do not invest. Right? Why would you invest in a town that doesn't have a solid business plan?
Sure, exactly. Now, you just did a great segue for me. So, as the CEO and the board, you guys have come up with a decision on trying to stabilize some of the funds that you need. Tell me exactly, or tell our audience exactly what you've decided to do.
Well, the city of Tehachapi, the staff decided to approach the council and ask for permission to put on the ballot this November a half-cent sales tax increase. The city of Tehachapi is in the business of fire protection, police protection, streets and roads, water and sewer, so on and so forth. So we're in a business. We sell that, right? And we need revenue. Just like if you own a retail store, you price your T-shirts and socks and things at a certain price point, right? Our price point is in the form of sales tax. We get a little property tax money, about $900,000 a year on a good year, and about $2.5 million sales tax annually. So we use that revenue to put back into the city. Currently, cities get 1% of the sales tax. Currently in Kern County, it's 7.5. We're proposing and going to the voters in November to increase that by a half cent, which is a half cent on a dollar or $1 on $200 on taxable sales items, right? That will increase our revenue stream about $1.4 million annually. We're going to take that money and we're going to put it right back into the city in the form of asphalt, in the form of improvements at Senior Citizen Center, activities, curb, gutter, sidewalks, the things that we're in that business. And it takes revenue to do that. So, $1.5 million will go a long way in the city of Tehachapi. It's for 10 years only. There is a sunset on it, approved by the voters, and once the 10 years is up, it's up, and we expect to do some really good things with it. We're going to go from good to great in the city of Tehachapi. So we've earned trust. People are, we're responsible adults, and we know how to spend our money. We budget every year, and we plan on doing that responsibly.
That's got to be one heck of a sales job. When you look at what's taking place throughout the state, you mentioned earlier you want to trust. And I think today people don't trust government.
Right.
Basically, number one. Then you've got bonds. That everybody's got a bond they're putting out. You've got high-speed rail. You've got all these freeways. All these things are taking place. How are you going to get the people to support Measure F?
Well, I think we have earned trust and responsibility. We are transparent in Tehachapi. At the local level in Tehachapi, you see me at the store. You can come into City Hall. I sit 10 feet from the front door. I'm not a bureaucrat 500 miles away or 3,000 miles away on the other end of a telephone. I am Greg Garrett. I'm the city manager of the city of Tehachapi, and I am available. And so is the council. Every single day, we live and eat and work in our city. Our kids go to the schools. We're part of the fabric of the city of Tehachapi. We have a vested interest in success.
Yeah. I have to tell you, my major concern, and you took care of my concern last night when we were discussing this, but my concern was that it was going in the general fund. And, when you look at the state and the federal government, when things go in the general fund, they disappear. I mean, it's watered down. But you brought up a very good point last night. You mentioned that in order to pass this, if it's earmarked for a specific thing, like most of the money is going to go to roads, it would need a 2/3 majority, where if it's just general fund money, it's a simple majority. Is that correct?
Correct.
Which makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference. General fund money is basically, that money is used for lots of things. The council has huge flexibility with the general fund, and we budget every year. We have mid-year budget reviews, and the citizens of the city of Tehachapi know exactly where their money is spent. Even on the city council agenda packet, we have our check run. Every single check that we cut to individuals or companies, it's very transparent. You can go right on the agenda and find out.
Let's talk a little bit more about the measure when we come back from the break. We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.